to live in vision.
You got to learn where you're at mentally and physically. And you got to learn to get to a point when you're tired and you're sore and you're beat up to find out if you can still execute.
Takes
8 months of waiting, 8 months of anticipation. It's all come down to this. It is the start of a new era in Aggie land as Jimbo Fisher takes the field in his first game as Texas A&M's head coach.
The eyes of the nation will be on the Aggies tonight in primetime as they welcome the Northwestern State Demons to Kyle Field. They'll try to play the Royal Spoiler on a beautiful Thursday night for football here in College Station.
The players are ready. So it's time to get you ready. Season 15 of Aggie Game Day starts right now.
Live from Texas A&M in the heart of the Aggie fan zone and from the Alumni Center, home of the Association of Former Students. Aggie Game Day. Sponsored by Signature Care Emergency Center and your Texas Best Chevy dealers. Now, from KBTX, your official Aggie sports station, Northwestern State takes on Texas A&M. This is Aggie Game Day.
Good evening and welcome to Aggie Game Day, presented by Signature Care, your Texas Best Chevy dealers. There is certainly an electricity in the air tonight as Jimbo Fisher prepares to make his debut here at Texas A&M.
You know, Darryl, we've seen a lot of seasons had highly anticipated in the past. This one, I think, is among the most highly anticipated that we've seen in recent memory, and it's all because Jimbo Fisher's making his debut here at Texas A&M. Seems like we've been talking about this season getting here since he was hired back in December.
That's right. We are 90 minutes away from kickoff inside Kyle Field, and that gives us a chance to spend the next hour getting you ready for the Aggies matchup against Northwestern State.
We have a lot of different angles to cover of Jimbo Fisher's debut, including hearing from former Texas A&M head football coaches Dennis Franchione and Jackie Sherrill. We have a long way to go and a short time to get there, so let's get this thing rolling with the opening drive.
The opening drive, sponsored by Brenham Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram.
Tonight, for the first time, we will see Jimbo Fisher's offense at Kyle Field, and that offense should feature running back Travion Williams. Last season, he ran for 798 yards and 8 touchdowns. Those numbers could be bigger this season with tight ends and fullbacks in the A&M offensive formation. Kellen Mond will start at quarterback tonight, but Nick Starkel could see time as well. Whoever's under center will have the chance to turn and hand the ball to Williams. As a freshman, he ran for 1,057 yards.
Northwestern State will likely play 2 quarterbacks tonight as well. One of those QBs will be former Navasota Rattler Shelton Epler, who will be playing in his first game for the Demons. Epler transferred to Northwestern State after spending 2 seasons at Trinity Valley Community College, where he played for current Northwestern State offensive coordinator Brad Smiley. Last year, Epler threw for over 1,900 yards and had 19 touchdowns. Quarterbacks are going to be a big part of tonight's ball game.
And they're a big part of our show. We check in now with former Hardin-Simmons gunslinger Cody Coyle and former Texas A&M quarterback Stephen McGee, who are at the Clayton W. Williams Jr. Alumni Center to help us break down tonight's game. Hey, fellas.
Hey, good evening, guys. Wasn't much of a gunslinger from the bench, but this guy certainly was. Stephen, Kellen Mond set to get the start tonight. Are you surprised that he won the job, and are you surprised that Jimbo announced who would start?
Yeah, I definitely was surprised just because of the body of work that both guys had last year. And I think the way that Nick finished, I thought he had a lot of momentum going into the offseason. Certainly fit well into what I figured to be more of a pro-style offense. More of a pro-style guy, prototypical drop-back guy. Of course, Kellen has that dimension with his legs, and maybe that was the ultimate factor, knowing what was best for the team. I think that gets lost in the argument of which quarterback isn't necessarily the best player, but the best guy for the team in this situation.
Time now to switch sides of the ball and talk a little bit of defense, and for that, we go back to Darryl and John.
Thanks, Cody. Texas A&M has the SEC's co-sack leader from last season back in the lineup. Landis Durham finished the 2017 campaign with 10.5 sacks. He recorded 56 tackles and 12 tackles for loss last season. Northwestern State was pretty balanced on offense a year ago, but they have a new offensive coordinator this season that will run a new system. One way to slow down the Demons' offense will be to generate pressure in the backfield, and Durham can certainly do that in Mike Elko's new defensive scheme for the Aggies. Durham will also have to play some coverage, so he could impact this game in a lot of different ways.
When Northwestern State's defense takes the field tonight, keep an eye on defensive lineman Zach Krolchek. Last season, he recorded 41 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, and had 5 sacks. We talk defense with us tonight. We check back in with the gunslinger and former Texas A&M linebacker coach Alan Waddell. Guys.
Hey, thank you very much, Daryl. Coach, the Aggies running a new defensive scheme tonight under their new coordinator, Mike Elko, facing a team with a new offensive coordinator. How tough of a task is that for the A&M defense tonight?
There's always questions when you're going to a first game without scrimmage, without being able to see the new coordinator's style and techniques and tendencies. So I think you kind of keep it close to the vest. Don't try to take a lot of chances. Will be this type of defense that Elko runs is a lot less pressure on the cornerbacks, a lot more zone, a lot more options on his part to bring blitzes their way.
A lot more with Coach Waddell and Stephen McGee coming up a little bit later in Aggie Game Day. John and Daryl continue our pregame coverage from the Fan Zone.
Thank you, Cody. Aggie fans have not seen their team play a game against another opponent since December 29th of last season when A&M lost to Wake Forest in the Belk Bowl. Since then, the team has gone through a spring practice, a spring game, and an August camp with Jimbo Fisher and his coaching staff. Now, we have finally arrived at the highly anticipated night that has been talked about for a long time. The first game for Jimbo Fisher as the head man at Texas A&M.
It's the first game of the Jimbo era, and I couldn't be more excited for it. I'm ready to go out there and really, for me, just playing a new position, going to get some time on offense, and that's really the most exciting thing for me is I'm not just going to be in there on fourth downs or on kickoffs. I'm finally going to get a little more time. So from a personal standpoint, I've definitely got a little more excitement about me going in this week, and then just the overall feel. It's different. There's kind of a buzz around campus right now. People are ready to go, and then people are ready to see this first game.
I look at all the games the same, but from the outside looking in, it'll be a big game. It's the start of the new Jimbo era, and it's the first game. Under the lights Thursday night. So I'm excited about it. Everybody inside the locker room, we're ready to go out there and compete.
Northwestern State is coming off a 4-7 season last year. After losing to Sam Houston State on October 14th, the Demons finished strong, winning 3 of their last 5 games. Brad Lard will make his debut as a college head coach tonight after serving as Northwestern State's defensive coordinator last year. He will have former Texas A&M offensive lineman Jay Pond with him, who was an Aggie O-lineman from 2002 to 2006. Pond is in his first year as the Demons' offensive line coach.
I wanted to be an Aggie from when I was very young. My father told me that that'd be the only place he'd pay for school just in case, so that's where I ended up going. But I loved it. Was very fortunate to be a part with Coach Jim Bob Helduser, Coach Francione in that era. We had some great games, had some lifelong friends. It's just a great place, one of the greatest schools in the country, no doubt about it.
Cullen Gillespie will be wearing the number 12 tonight for Texas A&M. It has become a familiar sight to see him running down the field covering kicks. Tonight will be the 27th game. Gillespie will serve as the 12th man, but we'll get to see more of him this evening in his role as the Aggies fullback.
A&M's very unique. A&M's different. But you have to use the students' power to help you win.
Jimbo Fisher was college football's splashiest hire this offseason, but it's not the first time Texas A&M's coaching choice has made some waves. Coming up, we will hear from Jackie Sherrill and Dennis Francione, 2 big-time coaches that made their way to Aggieland.
And Fisher may have a national championship on his resume, but perhaps his biggest accomplishment has come off the field. Later in the show, we'll tell you about Fisher's Kids First Fund and the important role it serves.
This is Aggie Game Day. In the Zone, Sponsored by Brenham Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram.
It's a head scratcher for me, other than the $75 million that you go to the SEC West and you face that type of schedule each and every year.
$7 million in Texas, where there are as many good recruits as there are in Florida, and I don't have to follow up what Bobby Bowden did. I'm out of here.
He gets all this money from A&M. Bruce, the only thing that justifies being paid the most money of anybody is if you win titles. Is that doable at A&M for him?
I don't know. No one's done it in forever.
You know, whether or not Jimbo can bring that elusive national championship to Texas A&M remains to be seen. But one thing is for certain, Texas A&M's hire of Jimbo Fisher from Florida State certainly sent shockwaves throughout the college football landscape.
It did, but it's not the first time that Texas A&M has lured a high-profile coach to come to College Station. The Aggies brought in Pittsburgh's Jackie Sherrill in 1982 and Alabama's Dennis Franchione back in 2003. Add that to the fact that Bear Bryant came to Texas A&M from Kentucky back in 1954, and the Aggies have a tradition of getting their guy.
So what drew high-profile coaches like Jackie Sherrill and Dennis Franchione to Texas A&M? Let me steal a line from Johnny Manziel. Right there, man. Money, money, money. Money does talk. But then what advice do those two guys have for Jimbo Fisher? Jake Kaburski found out for us.
The 29th head football coach at Texas A&M University. Please welcome Jimbo Fisher.
It's the kind of hire that happens once in a lifetime. A program changer, a defining moment for a school and fan base clamoring for a national championship. But it's not the first time Aggie fans have wanted big things from a big name.
The biggest reason I came because I felt very comfortable.
Jackie Sherrill led the Pittsburgh Panthers to 4 top 10 finishes. He was a hot commodity in 1982, and the Aggies were looking for a new head coach.
I was at the East-West game coaching with Coach Bryant, and Bo Schemblacher was coaching the other side, and Gil Brandt, said A&M would like to talk to you.
The Aggies got their man for, again, the richest contract in college football. 6 years, $1.7 million.
I came down, and during the visit, the only thing I wanted was how committed the president and how committed the board was in building a football team.
Sherrill didn't disappoint, winning 3 Southwest Conference titles and starting a winning tradition carried on by R.C. Slocum. And when it was time to replace Slocum in 2002, the Aggies went big again. They say no one leaves Alabama, but Dennis Franchione did.
The fans are what I would call very hungry, but every school, when you get to the top 25 or top 50, have fans that want to win.
There were tough moments and high points. But it ended in 2007 with no national championship.
Been one down the road at Texas, one down the road at LSU, one down the road at Oklahoma. They're surrounded by it. All 3 of those won national championships when I was coaching at Texas A&M. And so, they want to be a part of that conversation and that picture, and they should.
Mike Sherman and Kevin Sumlin couldn't do it either. So, can Jimbo?
I don't think there's any doubt he's as qualified to do it as anybody that they could have hired.
Jimbo wants to build a championship. He's here for one reason, and that is to build a solid football program that are fighting for championships.
Fisher is the first coach since Pittsburgh's Johnny Majors in 1976 to leave the program that he won a national championship for another college coaching job. Ironically, the man that replaced Majors at Pitt, Jackie Sherrill. There you go.
I'm Jessica Grunling out here at Spence Park, and later on we'll be checking in on the Concho's tailgate.
They've seen the team since the first day of practice, and now they'll tell us what they think. Sam Kahn of ESPN.com and the Houston Chronicles. Brent Swerneman stopped by the set to tell us what we can expect from Jimbo Fisher's debut. More Aggie Game Day headed your way next.
Live from SEC Country, this is Aggie Game Day. Coming to you live from the largest football stadium in Texas, you're watching Aggie Game Day.
Week after week, it's not about skipping a game, no game is more important than the other. We have to attack every game to get a win because every game can be the national championship game. You never know what play will change that. So you got to attack every play, every game the same. So Northwestern State, then Clemson, not looking at it.
It is hard not to look ahead to the Clemson game, but there's still plenty to be excited about in the season opener at Kyle Field tonight. You're looking live at the Fan Zone through the lens of the Allen Samuels Fan Cam. It's an unusually busy Thursday here in Aggie land for everybody who covers the Aggie football team, including Brent Zorneman of the Houston Chronicle, who's been covering the Aggies for almost as long as I think I have, 20, 30 years it seems like. He's with the Chronicle and the San Antonio Express News, and then our good friend Sam Kahn with ESPN.com, and he's been covering the Aggies and everything SEC since 2012. And fellas, thank you guys for being here. Certainly an exciting time tonight. What are you expecting to see from Jimbo Fisher's first year? And Sam, I'll start with you.
I think first off, you're going to see a drastically different offense. You're going to see more tight ends and more fullbacks, more two wide receiver sets than we've seen in probably a decade here. I think you're going to see a team that's predicated on physicality, that tries to play the SEC brand of ball, or at least what SEC football used to look like, very physical, line of scrimmage oriented ball.
Brent, what's your take on all that?
I think fans need to remember there's a big learning curve here. The coaches have all stressed this is a much more complex offense. The aforementioned Cameron Buckley talked about how he said last year they ran a high school offense. Mike Elko's defense is complex. And then you throw in the September that the Aggies have, Alabama, Clemson, and even Arkansas at the end. There is that learning curve. Fans need to keep that in mind because it's in a big-time adjustment period early on.
Jimbo Fisher decided to go with Kellen Mond at quarterback. Nick Starkel probably going to see some time tonight as well. The decision to start Mond, Sam, is it surprising to you, and why do we think maybe he's the best choice?
Not to me, no, because I really believed that this battle was neck and neck coming out of spring. I thought when you watched the spring game, the way Kellen threw the ball, initially I think Nick looked better, but Kellen made some NFL throws in the spring game. And his athleticism, his growth as a leader, and let's not forget how well he played down the stretch against South Carolina, how he played against Alabama. Those are really valuable lessons for a true freshman. So it doesn't really surprise me, and I think the added athleticism and the growth he's shown as a leader is what's given him the edge.
Brent, are you surprised that Kellen Mond will start tonight?
I wasn't, because the one thing he needed to do was improve his passing. He did that in the offseason. Jimbo Fisher got hold of him. He's a much more mobile quarterback than Nick Starkel. So those things equal. Once again, I think it's a suspect offensive line. We'll find out a lot more over the next couple weeks in terms of what they're doing. In that situation, you need a more mobile quarterback. He improved his passing, and frankly, I think he has more upside than Nick Starkel.
He's going to have a lot of young receivers to throw to. Brent's going to have to fill that void left by Christian Kirk. Anybody that you think maybe jumps off the page that could do that?
I'm going to make the third reference to Cameron Buckley here in a short time because I know Jamon Osborne would be an easy answer, but I think Buckley, in the short time that you saw him, he made the most of his opportunities. The other thing, guys, have you ever seen more sophomores at a position
No.
ever? I can't even count them, how many sophomore receivers. A guy like Rashad Paul from right up the road, all of those guys are going to get their chance.
Sam, anybody jump out at you?
I think Osmond's the best receiver, but I think Courtney Davis is the guy I look to break out this year. He's been battling injuries his first 2 years, but it's explosive, great combination of size and speed. It can beat anybody off the ball. He can also go up and get it.
Travion had a down year last year. Injuries didn't help matter. The high school offense that Brent referred to probably didn't help matter. Kevin is just getting ready to hit us with that. But what do you see Travion doing this year?
I think you'll see him grow because he's going to get the chance. Let's not forget, it's hard to run when you're standing still next to the quarterback. When you get a chance to run downhill, which he will, he'll get to line up 7 yards behind the quarterback and take the ball and go downhill. I think you'll see him grow quite a bit as a back. He can hit that hole very fast, and you'll see him learn how to become a between the tackles back. I think he'll have a great season.
And Brent, he's going to have a guy in front of him blocking too.
Yeah, how about Colin Gillespie? And one of the things I thought was interesting from this past week was Nick Starkel sharing with us that Colin Gillespie was clocked at 22 miles per hour on the field, and the only one faster was Armani Watts at 23 miles per hour. So Gillespie is always up for anything, and I guarantee he's going to be up for playing fullback.
All right, so I'm not going to hold you guys to this. We're not going to run it back in the middle of the year and run it to you again. But, Brent, we'll start with you. How many wins do you think we see from Jimbo Fisher and this team in year one?
I'm going to say 8-4 in the regular season. Might be a little bit optimistic that it's right in there. I think getting LSU at home this year, I think that's one that the Aggies finally overcome. So I'm going to say 8-4, and then they're going to get a bowl victory. So reach 9 wins for the first time since 2013.
I'd ask you for a bowl projection, but that's way too far out.
Yeah, I don't care about bowl games unless it's the playoffs. But I say 8-4. I agree with Brent. I think they're going to – this first month is going to be really tough, but I think you're going to see them get better down the stretch. And I agree with Brent. I do think this is the year they're going to finally get LSU. I think they're going to go 8-4.
Fellas, thank you guys so very much for stopping by. We hope you have an enjoyable Thursday of covering college football, and Saturday's fun too.
We're headed back to that air-conditioned press box, guys.
That's right.
It's not a bad place to be right now.
Hey, it is a perfect night for football here in the Brazos Valley. Yeah, it's a little warm, but hey, the Aggies are on the field and they're back in action. And to talk more about tonight's weather, we check in with our meteorologist, Max Crawford, inside Kyle Field. Max?
From KBTX News 3, this is your Aggie Game Day forecast.
Jump my cue there a little bit. Thanks a lot, Daryl. Parsons Mounted Cavalry is marching in as we speak. The rest of the Keepers of the Spirit going to fall in pretty soon. Northwestern State Band already here. They're singing Africa by Toto. It is football time in Aggie Land, and we are ready to get going. As Daryl mentioned, it is pretty warm out there. So let's talk some weather impacts for the game today. Sunset is at 7:51 this evening. The field is already in the shade. Now, just before the show started, took the temperature of the field. It was at about 95, so it'll be 95 plus for at least another 45 minutes or so. So by the time we get closer to actual kickoff, should be a little more comfortable for the players out there. But heat index, that's still in the upper 90s. So that's where we sit right now at Easterwood and at a Coulter Airfield. Came in at 98 a little earlier, has since cooled down a little bit. 98 our feels like temperature though. Remember, that is what it feels like in the shade. So it is still pretty steamy out here. But if you can get up in the nosebleeds where I'm sitting a little later, breeze will help you out just fine. Going into the second, third quarter, that's when I expect us to kind of dip back down into the upper 80s, so it should be a beautiful evening in Aggie Land, all things considered. We'll get a look at currents once again just ahead of kickoff and take a look at that drive home forecast back to Natchitoches and around the state in just a bit. Let's get a live eye look right now, though, over the Association of Former Students. On the other side of the break, we will head down to the Association of Former Students. Cody Coyle, Alan Waddell, and Stephen McGee are ready to break down the Aggies matchup against Northwestern State.
You're watching Aggie Game Day on your official Aggie Sports Station.
Aggie Game Day from the Clayton W. Williams Jr. Alumni Center, home of the Association of Former Students, is sponsored by your Texas Best Chevy dealers. Now back to more Aggie Game Day.
Very excited. You know, you can see it in everybody's face. You know, we're ready to go throughout these fall camp practices. You know, fall camp can be really long and days start to drag on, but, you know, we didn't really let that get to us. And we just came prepared, ready to work day in, day out, and I think that'll show on the field.
We are just under an hour away from kickoff between Texas A&M and Northwestern State. To help us look ahead to Jimbo Fisher's debut as Texas A&M's head football coach, we welcome back Alan Waddell, who coached linebackers at Texas A&M from 1998 to 2002 and led Lamarck to 3 straight state titles in 1995, 96, and 97. Stephen McGee also back with us this season as well. He was an Aggie quarterback from 2005 to 2008 before playing professionally for the Dallas Cowboys, Houston Texans, and he was the original Aggie Hamilton Tiger Cat QB. The big storyline tonight is Aggie head coach Jimbo Fisher. And Coach, what have you heard about what Fisher is doing here at A&M?
Well, I think there's a lot of excitement in the air. He has won the hearts of Aggies. Now he needs to win some games so he can win the hearts and souls of Aggies. Because the bottom line is the Aggies are going to want him to win, you know. But he's doing it the right way. He's brought a lot of toughness and discipline to the program. It's no country club scene out there. It's a lot of guys working hard, and the wins will follow. He's doing it the right way. He knows what he's doing. It's nice to watch him work.
Stephen, what are your impressions of Coach Fisher?
I love the seriousness about the process. You know, Coach touched on that, but there's never been a talent issue at A&M. We've always had the guys, and I think now the next step for this program is developing those guys so that you have more and more depth. You know, you got Myles Garrett goes down, you got to have the next guy up. Johnny goes down, you got to have the next quarterback up. And I feel really good about the future of the program because, yes, they're building depth through recruiting, but they're also developing the guys.
Talking about quarterbacks, we did a little earlier in the show. Of course, Kellen Mond, the starter for tonight's game. What do you think of the way he plays, and do you think that it's his job, or does Starkle still have a shot to get back in it?
I think it certainly indicates that he was the better quarterback through camp, even if it was by a slight margin. But I think he was the underdog. I thought he had to prove more to get the nod, even though they said it was an even race. I think it is his job to lose. I think if he can limit turnovers and then find those third down conversions, keep the chains moving. Too often last year, that was his Achilles heel as a player. If he can do that, I really think that they're going to use his legs to be the difference.
Stephen, you were on a team that went through a coaching change from Coach Franchione to Mike Sherman in 2008. What's it like to have a new head coach come in for part of your career?
It was a challenge. We had Arkansas State here for the opener, and we don't all want to remember that. There's not many stats that I want to recall from those days, and so you were kind in your intro of me, but it's always a challenge. You got to humble yourself, especially for those older guys that have been around, done things a certain way for 4 years, now going to their 5th year. Coach comes in and says, we're going to do it this way. And you've got to humble yourself and then take the reins and then lead the guys and get the program going.
Coach, 2 starting returning linebackers, Otaro Alaka and Terrell Dodson. How big will they be to the team's success tonight and for the season?
I think we're as solid linebackers we've been for 2 decades nearly. I mean, this is going to be big. They're going to get kids. They're going to get their players lined up. They've experienced. They've seen the big crowds before. They're definitely the 2 leaders of the defense. I'm looking for big-time things over inside linebackers this year. There's no question about that. They got to stay healthy.
Thank you both for your time right now. We'll have more from Coach and Stephen McGee a little bit later in the show. Texas A&M is the first SEC team, of course, to play a game this year. Daryl and John have a look at the rest of this weekend's SEC schedule.
Thanks, Cody. There are a pair of 11 o'clock games on Saturday morning. South Carolina will face Coastal Carolina on the SEC Network. Ole Miss and Texas Tech will face off at NRG Stadium in Houston. That game will be televised on ESPN.
At 2:30 on ESPN, third-ranked Georgia will open the season at home against Austin Peay. Also at 2:30, it's a battle of top 10 teams as 6th-ranked Washington takes on number 9 Auburn on ABC.
Saturday afternoon at 2:30 here on KBCX, Tennessee will open up the Jeremy Pruitt era with a matchup against 17th-ranked West Virginia. That's in Charlotte, North Carolina. Kentucky will host Central Michigan at 2:30 on ESPNU.
Heisman hopeful Drew Lock will lead the Missouri Tigers into their season opener Saturday afternoon at 3 against Tennessee Martin. That game will be televised on the SEC Network's alternate channel. Chad Morris will coach his first game at Arkansas Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock against Eastern Illinois. You can see that game on the SEC Network.
Joe Moorhead will make his debut at Mississippi State Saturday night as the Bulldogs host Stephen F. Austin. Kickoff is scheduled for 6:30 on ESPNU. Former Mississippi State coach Dan Mullen is now at Florida. Saturday night, his Gators will meet Charleston Southern at 6:30. The game will be televised on the SEC Network.
Vanderbilt will take on Middle Tennessee Saturday night at 6:30 on the SEC Network's alternate channel. Top-ranked Alabama will meet Louisville Saturday night at 7 o'clock on ABC.
The opening week of SEC football comes to a close Sunday night when 25th-ranked LSU faces off with number 8 Miami at AT&T Stadium in Arlington at 6:30. You can watch that game on ABC.
Fans entering the stadium today might notice something a little different in the student section. The famous letters spelling out home of the 12th man on the 3rd deck of the east side have gotten an upgrade. The old letters were replaced with new ones to match the other signage inside Kyle Field. Also, 2 new ribbon boards were added to replace the old scoreboards. The improvements were made possible by the Texas A&M class of 1988, who donated the original letters. The old letters are being stored at the Association of Former Students.
Coming up, hear from Jimbo Fisher about his nonprofit and why the cause is so close to his heart.
And it wouldn't be Aggie Game Day without a little bit of time travel. Cody Coyle dusts off the old sports tapes and takes us back in time with the old Army Rewind.
Getting you warmed up for kickoff. This is Aggie Game Day. Live from SEC Country, you're watching Aggie Game Day.
You hear about traditions, you hear about culture, and every place has them. But I don't think people live them to the extent sometimes that A&M people do. I mean, they truly live for A&M.
Living for A&M and living for the start of football season. A big crowd expected tonight at Kyle Field for Jimbo Fisher's debut at Texas A&M. You're looking at the pregame scenes through the lens of the Allen Samuels fan cam.
For the last several months, we've had the opportunity to get to know Jimbo Fisher as a head coach, but he's also a dad and father of 2 boys, Trey and Ethan. 11-year-old Ethan suffers from a rare blood disease. As Noel Bello reports, Coach Fisher spreads awareness of that disorder through his nonprofit, Kids First Fund.
So you're just going to put it in between your gum and your teeth.
Last Friday, Aggie football players joined the National Bone Marrow Donor Registry.
It was quick, it was easy, and it was just like a swab, took a swab 5 seconds, swab another 5 seconds, done.
A quick swab of the cheek is the easiest way to help people with Fanconi anemia, people like Ethan Fisher.
Didn't know that Ethan had his condition. He's such an energetic kid, and he runs around here laughing and smiling, and you would never know.
He's actually been fighting his whole life. We just found out about it when he was 6 years old. He was born with it.
FA is a hereditary blood disorder that weakens the immune system. It's not a guaranteed cure, but at some point, Ethan will have to get a bone marrow transplant.
It's a very devastating disease as far as it can bridge into breast cancers, leukemias, and different things, and we're really just finding out a lot about it.
In 2011, Jimbo and Ethan's mom, Candy, created the Kids First Fund. The organization works hard to create awareness and raise money to find a cure.
We say we have a platform to go out there and attack this disease, and not only for Ethan, but for all the other kids who don't have this platform. And there's only one way to beat something, and that's attack it.
A mentality his players appreciate in their coach, both on and off the field.
Getting to know them in the short time that we've had Coach Fisher as our head coach has been a blessing. You really get to see the heart behind him and the why for what he's doing.
We all want to help. We all have kind hearts, and just know that we're one big family.
Coach Fisher says the eagerness to get involved from his players and the community proves the spirit of Aggieland.
Texas A&M, the culture of it, and I heard about it, and the people said everything about it. And you know, you're never skeptical, but you always want to know until you get to see it in firsthand. It's an amazing group of people who want to be involved.
Aggie fans have the opportunity to participate in the next Be the Match Bone Marrow Registry event. It'll be in 2 weeks before the Louisiana Monroe football game that'll be on September 15th outside Kyle Field. Coming up on Aggie Game Day, we will check in with Jessica Grunling, who did a little tailgating this afternoon. Plus, she'll have this week's fan feedback question.
And yes, it really has been that long. Later in the show, we'll take you back to 2013 and Johnny Manziel's first game as the reigning Heisman Trophy winner in this week's Old Army Rewind.
Fan feedback, sponsored by C&J Barbecue.
Well, football is back in Aggie land, which means the tailgaters are back as well out here at Spence Park. And I am with the Conchos crew and Wayne. So, Wayne, tell me a little bit about the excitement today, first game of the year.
By God, we've been here since about 10 o'clock this morning. We got all fired up here. We're the only ones here, but we're 100%ers. We don't give up for nothing. So we got here early, and we're going to stay late. So we're ready to go.
I like it. So obviously today kicks off the Jimbo Fisher era.
Jimbo.
What are your expectations?
For $75 million, he better do something really big. I think he's going to go out there. I think he's going to show the people what he's got. He's not going to give up. He's going to, keep the hammer down. He's going to do everything he can do to show everybody what he's got.
Okay, and so tell me about this tailgate. Like we said, Concho's Crew, where'd that name come from?
Concho's Crew, we started here in '93. My daughter, we live on Concho's Trail there in Austin, so my daughter said you ought to call it Concho's Crew, so we've been doing it since. And so we started off, there's 2 of us, then there's 4 of us, and there's 6 of us, now there's 10 of us, and we usually have about 100 to 200 people here every game, and we don't miss anything.
So it sounds like a party all the time.
All the time, never end.
All right, so tell me what we're eating today. I know you said pizza and things like that.
It's kind of weak today. We're doing double days just because it's late and everybody's in school. But next week, you come down here, we're going to do fajitas. We're going to do something big. So Clemson, tonight's going to be a big game just because Jimbo's era, but next week's going to be huge. So we're going to probably do briskets or fajitas next week, and we're just going to kill it.
All right, so now we're going to ask you the fan feedback question of the week. That's brought to you by C&J Barbecue. So how many wins do you think the Aggies will have in Jimbo Fisher's first season?
Jimbo said he's not going to sell anything for 10 or less, so we're going for 10.
Alrighty, thank you guys. Well, this week's fan feedback winner is Tommy Scott from B-Dice, Tommy thinks the Ags will win 8 games this season, and for his prediction, he's going home with a tailgate prize pack that feeds 10. It includes 2 meats and 2 sides of your choosing, and it's courtesy of our friends over at C&J's Barbecue. So guys,
Tommy's wrong. Tommy's wrong. 10. We're going 10.
we're going 10. Thank you guys. Enjoy the game tonight.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yo, Wayne. You the man.
Jimbo Fisher hopes to fare a little bit better than the last 2 new Texas A&M head football coaches. Mike Sherman lost to Arkansas State, while Kevin Sumlin lost to Florida. We take a look at the former for our trip back in time in the old Army Rewind.
5 years ago this week, the Aggies won their season opener over Rice 52-31. That game will be remembered for defending Heisman Trophy winner Johnny Manziel missing the first half due to a suspension because of an NCAA investigation into whether or not he received money for signing autographs. Matt Jokel started the game. Manziel finished it, throwing for 94 yards and 3 scores in the Aggie victory. This week, 10 years ago, the Aggies turned the ball over 4 times in an 18-14 home loss to Arkansas State in Mike Sherman's Texas A&M head coaching debut. A&M gave up a 14-3 halftime lead. The Red Wolves scored the go-ahead touchdown with just under 5 minutes to play and picked off Stephen McGee to seal the deal on the upset. Better results 15 years ago this week as the Aggies beat the then Arkansas State Indians 26-11 at Kyle Field. Courtney Lewis ran for 74 yards and 2 touchdowns, the last one from 42 yards out with just over 3 minutes to go to put the game out of reach in Texas A&M's season-opening victory. 20 years back, the 14th-ranked Aggies opened the season at Giants Stadium against number 2 Florida State. Jay Brooks returned to fumble 21 yards right before the half to give Texas A&M a 14-10 lead at the break, but the Seminoles held the Ags scoreless in the second half, and this 9-yard Chris Winkie to Peter Warwick touchdown toss put Florida State ahead to stay in a 23-14 win. 30 years back, another kickoff classic at Giants Stadium. This one a 23-14 loss to second-ranked Nebraska. The Aggies led 7-3 at the half, but the Huskers scored the next 17 points. A&M got within 20-14 late, but Nebraska added a late field goal and held on to beat the 10th-ranked Aggies. And finally, we flash back 35 years to a season-opening loss to Cal. The Golden Bears led 17-0 at the half, but 2 Rich Seiler touchdown grabs and an Allen Smith field goal tied the game for the Ags at 17. Cal would win it thanks to a safety. Future NFL All-Pro Ron Rivera tackled Jimmy Hawkins in the end zone with 57 seconds left to give the Golden Bears the win.
So you've heard a lot from us over the last hour, but now we give you, the fans, a chance to sound off on today's matchup. The 2-minute warning up next on Aggie Game Day.
The tradition continues. This is Aggie Game Day. The 2-minute warning, sponsored by the Association of Former Students.
Welcome back to Aggie Game Day. It is 2-minute warning time. Our chance to give opposing fans the opportunity to make the case on why their team will win tonight. Jack is with us representing Northwestern State. Mark will defend the Aggies. Jack, your team's the visitor, so we're going to crank it up with you. Demons' first trip to Kyle Field.
Absolutely.
Do you think they know and are ready for what's waiting for them inside the stadium tonight?
Oh, no, they know. They know they're going up against an SEC team. It's got a new coach. It's going to be a much more physical style of play, and we'll be ready, and we'll try to take advantage of any opportunities that we see, and we'll play to the end.
Mark, the 12th man, has been talking about this one for a long time. They ought to be rocking tonight. Do you think the Demons are ready to play in front of them?
I think they will. We've been through these kinds of games in the last handful of years. They bring talent, they bring desire, and nothing's a cakewalk, but it has a different feel for us this year, so I'm optimistic.
Your team is a really big underdog tonight. Do you honestly believe they can pull off the upset?
Well, let's put it this way. They're the only team that can beat A&M tonight.
Well, you make a good point.
And, the reason why you play them is because you never know. We beat TCU before. We beat other D1 teams. We're going to do that tonight. I wouldn't bet on it, but I'm sure going to be pulling for it.
Can't bet against it either.
Yeah.
Feel like Northwestern State has a chance in this one tonight?
I don't feel like they have a chance. I feel it'll be competitive for a while. I hope both teams clean. They show what they're both capable of, but I'm pretty confident going into tonight.
A year ago, Northwestern State outscored 210 to 142 in the first half of games combined. Can't have that happen tonight. That's falling behind's not a good recipe for victory. How important to you is the start for Northwestern State?
It's huge. We need to build a little confidence, make a few first downs, maybe drive. If we can get into the end zone and get some points, that'd be great. But we just need to start and step by step, get some momentum, believe. They know they're in a class above themselves, so we just need a little bit of confidence and step by step, and we'll see what happens.
How important is the start for the Aggies tonight?
I think it's important. Just get the tone set right, get the philosophy established, and then just get the momentum going for the rest of the year.
I should have got you guys on here earlier. You seem to know a lot more about this game than I do. Well done to both of you. Shake hands and wish each other luck, and while you do that,
welcome Demon.
We're going to check in one more time with Max Crawford for a final look at our game night forecast. Hey, Max.
Guys, just in case you didn't know, we have some speakers that have been added to enhance the game day experience. It plays the band and the DJ. Let me tell you, the speakers work. I'm shouting at the top of my lungs right now, and the band is coming in loud and clear. We are so close to kickoff. Real quick look at occurrence right now. The entire field is in the shade, and boy, what a difference it makes. We are back below 95 on the field, and the only spot in Kyle Field right now is the eastern side of the student section. They'll be in the shade here within the next 20-30 minutes or so. As we go into tonight and into tomorrow, things start off pretty quiet. Headed back to Natchitoches, especially across most of the state of Louisiana. See a pretty good shot at scattered showers and thunderstorms. If they're making it a weekend, that Labor Day rain chance will continue all the way through. Headed up north and west of Bryan College Station, though, rain chances look pretty sparse over the next couple of days. The only spot is Houston. The Houston area could see some more scattered showers again as we go into our Friday afternoon. Could be a soggy start and finish, for that matter, to the Labor Day weekend.
Fans, a reminder, first aid stations are available near you in case of a medical.
Well, we are just about ready for kickoff here in College Station. Texas A&M, of course, heavily favored against Northwestern State tonight. And we're going to have a little final game day analysis with the coach, Alan Waddell, and the quarterback, Stephen McGee. And, Coach, we're going to start with you. What do the Aggies have to do tonight to get not just a win, but a convincing win in Jimbo Fisher's debut?
We need to not be sloppy. No penalties, don't turn the ball over. Play good football so you feel good about yourself after the game. If you look back, Sumlin's first game was a loss. Arkansas State beat us. Fran's first game wasn't good. So we've had three head coaches that haven't started out real well. So they got to feel good about themselves going into the next week. If they can do that, it's been a successful night, and stay healthy, of course.
Same question for you, Stephen. What do the Aggies have to do to get a convincing
win? They need to get their headset right tonight. There we go. Get the plays in appropriately. But I think protect the football early. That's how teams like Northwestern State stay in the game with turnovers, manage the clock, do those things well. Communicate on defense, right? Don't get any busted coverages on the back end, playing at home in a loud environment. Very important.
That's all from here at Aggie Game Day. The 2018 season underway in about 30 minutes. Thanks for watching Aggie Game Day.